Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany Gonzales, and I chose to memorize and recite William Blake's A Poison Tree. I was angry with my friend, I told my wrath did end. I was angry at my foe, I told it not, my wrath did grow. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears. And I sunned it with smiles and soft deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright. And my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. And into my garden stole, when the night had violed the pole. In the morning glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. So thank you for listening. There was a few things that I realized once I started memorizing this poem. I feel like we could all relate to this because it's easier, as he said in the first and second line. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end. From this, I took that if we have a friend, it's always easier to talk to them out of problem. As we can see, wrath is a problem, maybe a hate or some kind of, wronging. He talked it out with his friend. He got it off his chest, and it did end. So he was able to resolve it and put it aside. But as many of us know, that if we have a problem with maybe an enemy or just someone we're not likely to talk well with, that kind of feeling and problem can just fester and grow, as it did in this poem. And William Blake does a great job with saying how his hate and problem grew into a tree, and it bore an apple, and then his enemy eventually got the apple, ate it, and in the morning he saw his enemy dead underneath the tree, the tree that grew from all this hate that he had. I also looked up an academic source, and they also mentioned how the tree had a biblical reference with Adam and Eve, and how the apple, how they eat the apple, and God told them not to eat it, and they did eventually eat it. And it goes along with this poem, and they ate the apple, and it didn't turn out well. So I also noticed with this poem how there was, I want to say it's an AB. I'm not sure if that's like the right wording or definition, but as we can see in the first and second line, friend, end. The third and fourth line, foe and grow. And we see that throughout the whole poem. Fears, tears, smiles, wiles, night, bright, shine, mine, stole, pull, sea, and tree. So I felt like as I memorized this, that's something I looked to. I kind of knew, okay, well, something's got to rhyme with the previous line. So I kind of just went through and I memorized, friend and foe grow. And that's how I kind of picked it up. I also looked at it many, many times. After I initially chose the poem, I was like, you know what, okay, I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to look through it. I'm going to read it as much as I can. And as our professor mentioned, read 4 lines at a time and then keep going. So I read the first verse, second verse, third verse, fourth verse, and that's how I picked it up. I also noticed, I'm not sure if this is something he intended, but we can see that he used the word "and" a lot in the first word of each sentence, almost each sentence. In the first verse is I, so I kind of use that for memorization. I said the first verse is always going to be I. The second verse, there's 3 ands in the first lines. There's and then the second line is night, but it follows with 2 other ands. And also with the third verse, I noticed that there's 3 ands in one word, till. And with the exception of the fourth verse, there's only 1 and in it. So I was like, okay, that's how I'm going to memorize it. I'm going to just find key phrases, key words that will help me figure it out and go through the whole poem. But I really did like this poem. Um, as you first take a look, you're just kind of like, okay, let me see what this is about. Let me see what it's about. But as you go through it, you really find that there's a deeper meaning. Like, I don't know, we could feel that he has this hate towards his friend, and it just, it just grows into this, blossoms into this tree, and it bears an apple, and then his friend eventually, his enemy dies. So it's kind of deep. But I really enjoyed going through this experience and reading this poem. It was fun, and I'm glad I was able to do it. Thank you.